It's on. Don't talk. Sit the other side
It's kind of like a 70s show, Fred.
I just walked in front of the camera.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 70s show. We go and like we meet, like the intro to a news show, but it isn't. Instead, it's PrepXtra Live, brought to you by St. Paul High School. This is the week 2 edition. We have week 0, week 1, week 2, all in the books. And boy, there's lots to talk about.
I'm pretty impressed, Aram. We're here at a quarter to 11 right now, and all of the stories are written. Stories are on the blog. Stories are on the websites, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, that's kind of what you get when you and I get to cover a game that's actually local or somewhat local, and we can jump right into that tonight. Right. The game Fred was at, Bishop Amat back from Aledo, Texas, where they grew some hair on their chest, and now looking every bit like a team that, and we're going to mention this theme quite a bit tonight, that had the light bulb go on.
Yeah, I mean, the lead to my story was, they didn't make Rancho tap out, but when you have a running clock, it's like tapping out. I mean, in the fourth quarter,
pretty impressive.
Just running it up. I mean, this is a team that traditionally has given them fits in the past.
Right.
Last year, Rancho Cucamonga won this game. Bishop Amat from the very beginning. I mean, you talked about maybe after last week's win in Texas, they were going to come out a little sluggish. I mean, not the case at all. And this defense, Aram, I've watched them the last 6-7 years. They're as good as advertised, as good as you were talking about at the beginning of the year. They get after it. They might give up one big play here, one big play there, and they did that tonight. But they don't give up consecutive big plays. They don't give up a lot of big chunks of yardage. And I was extremely impressed. I mean, Rancho Cucamonga's last 2 touchdowns, that final score was 46-17, came in the final 5 minutes of a running clock. Yeah. So with their starters in, they held this team that had scored a lot of points, put up 42 against Norco, to just 3 points with their starting defense on the field.
Yeah, Fred, when have you seen Rancho Cucamonga?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen it. I'm sure maybe it's happened, play with a running clock.
No.
I mean, to get beat that bad, boy, what a beatdown. And congrats to, Bishop Amat. I mean, I don't think that coming back from Texas, was such an easy thing to do. And they did that, and they made it look, simple. And, I talked to Coach Haggerty earlier in the week, and I asked him, hey, is there going to be any hangover here? Is there going to be, any sort of, jet lag, anything? And he said, no, our practice Monday wasn't good, but they never are. Yeah. And Tuesday we were good to go. And here you have it. And we know, Fred, Kiefer is a whole different animal.
It was packed. I mean, it was exciting. Even talking to Damien Garcia after the game, he threw for 199 yards, 4 touchdowns. One of his quotes, it doesn't get any better than this. To play for Kiefer, this crowd, this tradition, this is what it's all about. And that guy really impressed me tonight. The way he ran the ball, the way he threw the ball, his composure. Anthony Camargo, he came back, 112 yards. He scored 3 touchdowns. But again, the story is not just their offense, it's their defense. It's just both sides of the ball. This is kind of what you've been waiting to see for a long time. That first game, that first loss to Santa Margarita, that's, I think, a distant memory right now. I mean, they're looking forward. They've got their feet on the pedal right now, and they're just going to get better, Aram.
That's the key thing, is that they are going to keep getting better. That's when you talk about having inexperience in a key position like quarterback, Garcia is just going to get better and better. And then again, sort of the catalyst of this whole thing. I know the senior class is very good in its own right, but the junior class, there's a lot of underclassmen. There's a lot of juniors that are getting their feet wet, and these guys, Fred. I mean, they're only going to get better, and this is why I've thought all along, once Bishop Amat gets into league play in the Mission League, they're going to be playing a very tough team every week. But I really do believe
but they're a tough team too.
Yes, they are a tough team too. That's right. That's it. I'm not saying
and that's all you can ask for in that division until you get to that super elite status, which they're not there yet. But they can beat any one of these teams on any given Friday. I mean, I'm convinced of that now. I mean, now it just comes down to you know what you do when you get there, and they have the pieces, Aram.
Right. Well, I mean, it's good to see.
Convinced.
Big crowd, it sounded like, from Rancho made it to the game. I saw your tout earlier.
Yeah,
they were loud.
Big group of fans come.
Did they fill the visiting side?
Just about. I would say almost filled the visiting side. Almont, their whole side was packed. The end zone was packed. I mean, it was typical Lancer season opener type of crowd. And
Freddie,
did you see the sign of you?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's this?
Yeah.
I'm seeing. You know, I retweeted it. You tweet. I don't know if that was your original tweet.
Yeah,
it was
my original tweet.
Okay, what is this? I'm a play call now.
We're on a play call, and I was looking at them, and they had Reagan down there, Barack Obama, and the game's already at hand. The fourth quarter, Steve Haggerty walks by me. He goes, "Flip that thing around. Show the Aram Talesian sign." He brings it out. I take a picture. I tweet that out. They love us, Aram. They love you. What a dramatic turnaround from the love-hate you've had with Amat over the past.
Yeah.
They love you. You're on their posters now.
Yeah, I don't
You're
understand.
part of their game plan.
They're actually not they're not the first team to do this. Almont actually did that. Almont had the big man's picture.
Tell me you don't get a kick out of that when you.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I get a kick out of the whole. I've been like an Amat hater and an Amat homer. I guess if some people are saying you're one thing and some people are saying you're another.
I think at the end of the day that's just some respect and they're having fun and
right.
That's
Yeah.
Cool,
No. I'm saying
you're trying to be honest with some of the analysis and
right. All right. Let's move on here from Bishop Amat.
A lot of shocking scores to me tonight.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is one of them, Fred, but it is a little shocking to me. The extent of what a blowout this was when Servite and La Mirada met tonight at Cerritos College.
That's one of them.
Servite gave La Mirada a big dose of reality. 56-14. I think this game was 35-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, I was watching, Richard Hernandez, the guy who covers the game for us. I was looking at his tweets, and it was just adding up like a cash machine. 7-0, 14-0, 21-0, 28. I mean, it was like watching the Amat game at Alito last week. I mean,
what's surprising to me about this is that I based my thought that La Mirada. I mean, obviously we all picked Servite. Okay, great. I based my thought that La Mirada could be in this game in large part on the fact that they beat Tesoro, right? And Tesoro tonight, goes out and flatters La Mirada by beating Upland. And Upland was ranked number 6, I believe, in Southern California. Boy, that gap between teams that are in the 5 to 10 range in SoCal and teams that are in that 1, 2, 3, 4 range, it must be huge, man.
I mean,
it must be huge
for them to get beat like that after what they did the first couple of weeks with the players that they have. They really shouldn't get beat by that kind of margin.
I didn't think so either.
I
thought that was.
I'm not surprised that they lost. I didn't think they would get beat like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is.
I didn't think so either.
That a little of that disappointing feeling that you had last year, giving them a dose of reality after what they did the first couple of weeks. So they're humbled. I'm sure they're not going to be your number one team in your rankings come next
No, that'll
year.
be Amat now.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Much to the delight of many. But the team that La Mirada plays next week is La Habra. La Habra stepped up tonight against Mission Viejo, Freddie, and they basically stepped down 49-20 Mission Viejo. So those two teams, La Habra, La Mirada, a bit of a neighboring rivalry. They're going to meet next week. Annually a very big game in the Whittier area. I would say one of these teams, as they get ready for a league, they really could use this win, to kind of help them going forward.
And they're, look, they really stepped up in class today. La Habra's been able to handle that in the past. I watched La Habra play last week against South Hills. I haven't seen La Mirada yet. I mean, that's going to be a good game. I tend to already maybe lean towards La Habra after having watched them last week, but that's going to be another good game. Big test for Machete to kind of see if they can bounce back and be in this one.
Right.
What you don't want to do is get blown out. They need to be in this game.
Right. And speaking of blowouts in South Hills, it happened again tonight, Freddie.
Kings of Cameron.
Yeah, Kings of Cameron. That lasted 1 year for the Huskies. They lose 44-0 tonight to West Covina. This is on the heels of, what was it, 60-0 last week?
It was 61-0, 60-something.
Against
La
Habra.
That was the Matt Rogers.
I mean, this is now like over 100-0 over the last 2 weeks. I know, they're playing some good teams here, but this isn't the South Hills.
West Covina's not La Habra.
No, probably not.
Let's keep that in perspective. This was a rivalry game where you have to give a better account of yourself than that.
Right.
I mean, you just do. West Covina, I mean, they're a good team.
Yeah.
But it's West Covina, South Hills. I mean, these games traditionally over the years they've gone down to the wire. They've been battles. To watch South Hills getting beat and beat convincingly the way they have,
shocking.
You have to wonder what's going on over there. There's been a lot of turnover in their sports staff at the school, and you just wonder where they're headed. You're wondering if this is a sign of things to come. But their football team, man, they have more worries than firing their announcer, Matt Rogers, last week. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Matt Rogers sent a tweet out the night. It was kind of funny about the going out and having some ice cream with his family now that he's unemployed. And he was sending a tweet out about the Amat blowout, but it was kind of funny. I'll share that tweet on the blog.
Right. Tonight. All right. Fair enough. Good sign though for West Covina. I mean, this is a team that's going to be later on.
After their first week, I mean, 2 huge wins. I think after that first week, we were already kind of casting doubt. And
that first week, I mean, that was a misleading final score. If you remember the article I wrote where Majori kind of explained what happened. They had some turnovers in the fourth quarter.
I want to apologize to the Bulldogs because I was ready to bury them after week 0. Yeah. We weren't even in September yet.
They could use, all the confidence and all the goodwill they can get because they're going into that Hacienda League where they're going to have to play, Charter Oak and Los Altos. Speaking of Charter Oak, Freddie, they take care of business tonight. They get off the schneid, so to speak.
Yeah, you were at that game.
Yeah, they beat Damien 35-30.
That sounds like the best game of the night.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, here's the thing. Damien got up 7-0, and they had a chance to make it even more. And they really, I was talking to, Matt Dunn on the sideline and a couple other, the Damien's basketball coach, excuse me, and, a couple other Damien guys, and they felt like they really had a chance to take a low-confidence Charter Oak team and run them out of the stadium early. And when they didn't do that, it sort of left the door open for Charter Oak to have that proverbial light switch come on or the light bulb go on, and that's what happened. Charter Oak woke up. They got the big play going again. They ran off the next 21 points of the game. They led 21-7 at halftime, and you're starting to think, okay, these guys are going to pull away. But first series of the second half, they're intercepted. Damien comes back. They close it. They keep closing the gap to, within a touchdown. And finally, late in the game, with about 1:35 left, Charter Oaks just they can't down out the clock. They have to still run the ball, and they have a 3rd and short, and Zion Eccles takes it. They're up 28-24. Zion Eccles takes it 73 yards to make it 35-24. And you're thinking, okay, there it is. We can all go home now. Not so fast. For some reason, this team, and I guess this is just what it's going to be like with young teams. It's going to be 2 big plays, 1 bad play, that type of thing, Freddie. I don't think it was an onside kick, but it was a short kick that Damien got at midfield. So Damien scores with 54 seconds left, and now Charter Oak has to survive the onside kick, which I believe Eccles recovered, and they get the win. So Charter Oaks 1-2. I said this last week after they played La Mirada. I think you might be looking at the Central Division champion. I think they're still your pick.
Yeah,
we don't know about Kaiser.
Colony's the team that beat West Covina in the first game, right?
We don't know about those teams.
I think given what Colony did to West Covina, I mean, just looking right now, you have to say they're right there in the Central. Diamond Bar getting smacked by San Dimas tonight. We'll talk about that. I mean, that's a Mid-Valley number 1 beating the Central number 1. But they weren't a real number 1. That was kind of fool's gold.
Right.
It looks like right now. I mean, Charter Oak and probably Colony. If you look at the preseason,
Glendora maybe, but
Glendora got
lost
smacked tonight.
Yeah,
but that's a good team.
Gorgonio.
I didn't do my homework picking that game, Aaron. Sometimes I put a game down and I don't look at the other team's record or what they've done, and man, I miss out on that. You're pulling away from me. I'm kind of disappointed.
No, it's all right.
In our picks, but what I'm saying, Charter Oak. I mean, that was expected. Charter Oak and Colony and West Covina, I think, is right there. Probably in that.
And don't forget about Los Altos.
Los Altos is right there.
These are all teams that I would favor.
They gave San Dimas, a better game than Diamond Bar did tonight.
These are all teams that I would favor Charter Oak over.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred? So that's why I think that, I think this team's probably a pretty good bet to win the Central Division when it's all said and done. They're going to get nothing but better at the skill spots. They're still making some mistakes. You got to remember, Fred, this team is all their studs are just juniors and sophomores. Scary towards the end of this year, scary next year.
Well, what did you think of Damien? Are they going to be able to hang it all on the baseline?
A couple of things. They're very well coached, as you might expect, with Paredes, at the helm. And they were in the right defense quite a bit tonight. They intercepted Cam Brown, a few times, and they do a lot of things right. But what they're lacking, Freddie, is playmakers, overall on offense. I shouldn't really say it because Dylan Thigpen's one of the better running backs in the area. Mackenzie Sternquist is a receiver that Gano was high on when he was there. He's a good receiver on the outside. Quarterback play looks shaky, but here's the thing. I get to the game and Dunn tells me, hey, man, our freshman quarterback, you got to keep this a secret. This kid, Warren Bryan, who is the younger brother of William Bryan, who just played at Diamond Ranch recently, is now playing at Yale.
Yeah.
He says to me that you can't say anything, but this kid's a stud. He's on the freshman level, and he's going to play.
You just said that you can't say anything.
Yeah, right. So he's going to. I know. I'll get to it.
I guess I'll correct me.
No. Okay, so he's saying, you got to keep this a secret. This kid's going to be a stud.
Good job, Aaron.
He's also going to be on. He's also going to be on the basketball team as a point guard later for Dunn. But here's the thing. I didn't have to keep that secret because the next thing you know, the kid's playing quarterback for Damien. He replaces the starter. We didn't even know he was suited up. So he's playing quarterback for Damien, and he can run around a little bit and make things happen. You could tell he's still a freshman, but he made some nice big throws tonight. They're going to get nothing but better, Freddie. And going forward, when you talk about next year and the 2 years after that, watch out for this guy, Warren Bryan.
That's good. That's good to see that with Damien. They're the ones who kind of throw.
They have some really nice linemen. And I'll tell you something else. This Patrick Sanchez, this interior defensive lineman, if he's not one of the top 2 interior D-line guys in the area, I don't know who is. He is outstanding. But they're a little bit of a work in progress. They had trouble with Charter Oaks athletes.
And we talked about briefly the other game, the battle of the number 1, San Dimas blowing out Diamond Bar 38-14. And let me tell you something about San Dimas. When you start to look at their resume now, remember last year they started 0-4 and won a championship.
Yeah.
They're looking better than last year. When you consider that game against Monrovia, they had them on the ropes. Probably should have won that game had they been able to make a field goal. Monrovia,
but you could say they could have lost the Los Altos game just as easily as they could have won the Monrovia
But these are 3 legitimate teams that they've played,
of course.
And they're 2-1. They blew out Diamond Bar tonight. You talk about Monrovia. Not only did they come back and smack Bonita the following week, they crushed Arcadia tonight.
Right.
So all of that the resume for San Dimas just looks better and better, Steve.
Yeah, I think it's what when I talked to Coach Zernico in the summer, he thought his defense was going to be really good, and it looks like outside of the second half of the Monrovia game that they're stepping up.
They returned a lot of guys, and it's real flattering that Monrovia was a team in that game, Freddie, that you thought really did look like the better team.
Yeah.
Because look how good San Dimas is now.
Yeah.
But that San Dimas defense, they are very, very good. We need to mention the fact also that Diamond Bar was a team, like you said, that had come in, ranked number 1, but they hadn't played anyone.
Right.
And they got, a little bit, exposed tonight. However, going back to San Dimas, I want to say that when we went out there for that Ice Bucket Challenge, I watched them practice a little bit. Their talent level, they look to me, although they were light on experience, to be more talented top to bottom. There were more athlete types out there than you had seen in recent years. So, scary team, man. You're going to need some athletes, I guess, if you see Pomona later on in that division.
And they're a team that traditionally gets better week to week. They rarely, take steps back as the season goes on.
Yeah. And everyone at Charter Oak keeps asking, when are they going to play us? That's what they keep asking.
That's what they want to know. San Dimas that would be a great game. I think it would be a great game now.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, I would agree with you.
I think you asked me that question 3 years ago, and San Dimas loses 45-0. If they played this Friday night, I think Charter Oak wins by 10 points.
Okay, fair enough.
How's that?
The game that Stevie was at tonight.
Charter Oak.
No, I agree with you. The game that Stevie was at tonight, and Stevie, we're not going to get play-by-play from you. You're just going to tell us whether St. Paul is legit. And Stevie was at St. Paul's big win over Southeast. St. Paul is 3-0. They haven't really played anybody. Thank you for sponsoring the show. PrepXtra Live brought to you by St. Paul High School. Stevie, is this team legit? You saw them tonight. I know Southeast isn't world beaters, but
I would say
you've seen LaSalle.
Yeah.
So they're also in the Angeles.
Would you let him answer the question?
Yeah, well, I'm just
He's trying to get to the answer, and you keep asking.
I'm giving him time.
They did some good things tonight. You know, they're back to like they reminded me of the Ansett type of teams who you know, bring your lunch pail.
Right.
You know.
They'll love to hear you say that.
But I mean, you know, they have a couple good backs. Mayers seems
good
like
QB,
a pretty good quarterback. I think they're better than I thought.
Right.
Going into the season.
Are they comparable to LaSalle?
LaSalle has a couple more athletes than they do. They don't really have that athletic type of guy on this team.
Are we asking if St. Paul is comparable to LaSalle?
Yeah, well, they're in the same league, right?
I know. I mean, we're at that. I mean, God, that just seems like a question you asked that 4 or 5 years
ago.
No, we'd laugh at it.
Yeah, but the thing is that LaSalle and St. Paul are sort of people's afterthoughts in that Angeles League when you talk about St. Francis Cathedral and to some degree Salesian.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked that. So and you know.
They were a little sloppy tonight, too.
The competition tonight.
Yeah.
Not great.
There were some athletes on that team.
Okay.
On Southeast. And they got loose a little bit.
Yeah.
But that team made a lot of mistakes, and their quarterback play was not the best. And St. Paul took advantage of that. St. Paul had some... what you would call lack of focus penalties, it looked like.
Right.
But they were able to move the ball. They have a couple good running backs, and like I said, Mayer as a quarterback is pretty decent. When they play a team like LaSalle, they're going to have to be much more cleaner than they were tonight, just from the athletic disadvantage that they would have.
Right.
Can we get to some other scores there? I want to ask you your thought. You know, I didn't have Courtney Gano. You know,
I knew you were going to that
from
one.
Los Altos. You know, plays at University of Washington. She sent out a tweet. You know, what's the score? You guys gonna? You know, her dad's coach at Wilson High School.
Right.
I almost didn't have the heart to tell her. It was so bad, but I sent her the score. The final was 45-7 Los Altos.
But you know, Courtney can take that as a good thing because she went to Los Altos for what
for
half
3 years.
of her,
3 years.
Okay, so 3/4 of her high school career. Her dad, obviously had some amazing years at LA.
Yeah.
Either way tonight she was a winner, and Wilson somehow pulled the upset. You know, and then she could just say screw it to all of you. I went to Bonita. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, so yeah, obviously Los Altos back on track after that loss last week to San Dimas, and 45-7 over Wilson. Wilson's under Manfred.
Yeah.
You know, we both knew that. Another team that kind of got back on track. We don't know how good Santa Fe is, but Bonita bounces back from the Monrovia loss and blows out Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Great win for them. Freddie mentioned this earlier, sticking in the Palomares League. Glendora goes down 42-17 to San Gorgonio. I've been backing off.
Did you do your homework? Did they beat some pretty good teams?
San Gorgonio's a good team in itself.
I'm trying to figure out what that loss means. If it's worry about for Glendora.
I've been backing off of Glendora, as you can tell. You know, I think you've been kind of. It's been obvious for the last 2 weeks, and the reasons why is because I've been going some places, and people have been saying things like kind of under their breath to me about Glendora, like, man, you're going to learn, when you see them because I've seen them and this kind of thing, and I wasn't believing that stuff at first.
You're going to learn,
but I started believing that they're not as good as I made them out to be, and which is altogether possible. We'll find out in a couple weeks when they play Charter Oak, just where they stack up in the Central Division as far as things shake out. But
I just have a feeling they're going to be all right.
I don't.
I really do. You don't?
I don't. No, I have a feeling that the skill position concerns are worse than I thought.
I think they're going to be fine when they get into league.
Well, if that happens, Fred, I'll just say, hey, boy, I was right about this team, Just remember who told you back in July.
Here's my Montview League favorite right now, La Puente, beating Walnut 24-21 tonight.
Not your Montview League
They're not
favorite.
in the Montview League.
I've done it again.
They're in
I
the
don't like all these new leagues. Okay, then they're my Miramonte.
No, they are not your
That's
Miramonte league
what you
favorite.
call Pomona.
Yeah, because
Okay,
Pomona's in the mirror. Hey,
Hey,
let's talk about that. We need to talk about
Pomona
that.
lost tonight. They
Yeah.
lost to the Pomona Unified School District.
Yeah, and let's talk about this. Freddie broke a story
Oh.
earlier, I think it was yesterday actually, that Pomona's game up at Mission Prep, which is San Luis Obispo, I believe, good private school that annually hooks up with like Rio Hondo Prep in that, Northwest Division?
Yes,
Is it?
Northwest Division.
It's been Northeast the last few years, but I guess they moved over to the Northwest.
One of those. People
One
get
of those
the picture.
North Divisions, Steve.
Okay.
I think we get it.
They scheduled this game, as Fred's story says, they scheduled this game at Mission Prep, okay,
Right.
which is, a long ride up and a long ride back. And the week of the game, they cancel the game because I guess a guy goes on record with you from the Pomona Unified that's saying, like, hey, we didn't realize it's 4 hours there, 4 hours back.
Well, the way it happened,
Come on,
and
dude.
everything was backtracking. The first story was that it was because of the cost, that it was too expensive of a trip, and
Okay.
and I was asking him because they inked the deal in August, and he says typically things like this, coaches make these deals, and then when they bring it to the school district for approval, which they did late last week, that's when they nixed it. That's when they nixed the deal and said,
Right.
that's too expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
what do
fine.
they week to week bring
Which is still a ridiculous.
That is the
Okay,
most crap.
okay.
I know
Okay.
it's not you saying
No,
it, but
that's
that is
not
the
even-
most crap.
But that's not the
answer
worst
I've
excuse.
ever heard in my life.
No. There's a crappier answer if that's
Okay.
if that's a word.
Right.
Crappier.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
The crappier answer
gonna get
is
thick here.
after that is done. Mission Prep, who came out to Rio
Yeah.
Hondo Prep last week, has 2 long road games.
Yeah.
They offered. Diamond Bar offered. Pomona offered to have them come out here. They said we've traveled a lot, but look, we'll pay your expense. We don't want to miss a game. We'll pay for you guys to come on out here,
Yeah.
play us, be our guest. Pomona school officials, now they're going, oh, now what do we do? Now what do we do?
Right.
Now we have someone pay for them.
Right.
They decided to cancel it and come up with some bogus explanation that, well, it's a 4-hour bus ride there. You
Okay.
play the game, and a 4-hour bus ride back. That's just not in the best interest of the kids.
That is
That
so
is
ridiculous.
isn't that? That's
Number one, if you
Come
schedule
on.
a team and you cancel the week of the game
Come
because
on.
of a travel thing, and then you tell someone like a reporter, like Fred in this instance, you know what, this gets submitted. What are you saying? Every week they submit something to their school district saying,
maybe
we're playing this team. Do you approve it?
Yeah.
That's they don't. That's not how it works.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt on that
there is
part.
no benefit
I'm
of the
trying
doubt
to give
here,
them
and
the
I'll tell
benefit
you
of the doubt
why.
on the cost.
I'll tell you why. You know what? Next time any of you people don't seem to understand why Pomona gets sort of the, how can I put this without cussing, the bad end of the stick. Here's going to be your answer right here. This is a very good football team, Fred. These players
they
don't
deserve that
this.
opportunity. They're number 3
Yes.
in the Mid Valley. This
Yes,
is
they're
a
a
number
very
1
good
ranked team
team.
they were taking on it.
They
And
don't
look,
deserve this happening
and look,
at all.
It's not like you do this every week, Aram.
Right.
I mean, this is one trip you're going to make. And some people on the blog who were making comments were right. They said, not in the best interest of the kids. This could have been their travel trip of a lifetime to be able to go and bond with their team, to drive down there.
Exactly.
Win a game like that. Imagine what that bus ride is like home.
Yeah.
Right. This is why
They blew
Pomona
it.
Unified, you have this stigma. This is why you have the stigma that you do. This is why it trickles down, and thank God for this Pomona team. But, you got problems at Gary, you got problems in Ganesha, and the next time anybody at that district complains, anybody at all, any administrator at any of the schools in the district complains about a kid transferring out, and this kid should be at home playing in Pomona, and instead he's playing at Bonita, or instead he's playing at Amat, or whatever. Here, Diamond Ranch is in that district. Here's your answer. Here's the reason why people leave, and this is one of the things that I would use to send to Tom Simmons, to Rob Wygod, to Glenn Martinez, that when somebody wants to transfer out of Pomona, you don't, like a Noodles Hull, who was in their district last year, hypothetically, you don't say, no, you live there, you got to go there. This is why people want to transfer, because they have crap unified school districts that don't give a whatever you want to say about the football program.
Yeah, and
this is why they transfer.
This is almost a
Fred.
situation where you wish in some sort of fashion that CIF could step in and do something, because to not go on this trip when this team offered to pay for it. I mean, you got to think of Mission Prep players
true.
too. You're not.
Horrible.
This isn't just about your own
It
kids.
looks horrible.
These are about other kids who also practice all year, who are sweating it out in the summer. You know,
Right.
football, it's not like basketball, but they only get 10 games
Right.
in the regular season,
Right.
and you're taking one
And
of those
how many
away,
of those
it's
are at
not-
home?
Right.
In front of mom,
right.
dad, grandma,
and, yeah,
grandpa?
and this is a team that, 3 out of the 4 weeks they were going to be on the road. This was their home game through all those travel trips, and Pomona just blew it. And I'll finish with this because I hope it's not true. And this is pure
listen to this, everybody.
is pure speculation.
Yeah.
Because I got a
Go
couple
ahead.
parent emails suggesting to me that the reason Pomona didn't go on this trip was because on a long trip like this, Aram, you have to have supervision.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have administrators go on the trip. And some parents were telling me that there were some administrators who just didn't want to make this trip.
Yep.
At the end of the day,
That's right.
they didn't want to make it. They didn't want to
On
have
a
to go
Friday
there on a
night.
Friday night, come
Right.
home at 2 in the morning.
Right.
If that's true, then God shame on them.
That's a
man.
It's a very, very, very,
Again,
very
that's speculative. I can't
serious
say
accusation.
That. I can't say that
Yeah,
with certainty.
it's
but
an
that's
accusation.
what parents are telling me.
Yeah, it's an accusation. It's out there. Listen, Fred, I've been on the sideline of teams that were getting ready to win a game or in a 50-50 type of game in the playoffs, which would have meant they'd have a game the next week, Thanksgiving week in football. And I've overheard administrators saying, "I hope we lose, so I don't have to be here next week."
I've heard that too. I mean, I think most of that's in jest.
The next time somebody transfers out of Pomona who's a big-time football player who should not have to go through this crap playing for one of these schools, the next time somebody wants to do that and CIF says, "Nope, sorry, you got to stay there. This is your hometown school," this is the thing that I'm going to point to. And the next time anybody in this Pomona Unified complains about somebody wanting to leave, this would be a great reason to say, hey, can you blame them? And this Pomona team does not deserve that, Fred. They are actually the exception to the rule. They are against the norm. They're actually a very good team with a good coaching staff. That's going places this year. This isn't some team that's going to be 2-8. This is a very, very good team, and to do this to them is just garbage.
Yeah,
it's a complete. I don't care if it's because they didn't want to spend Friday night, or if it's because legitimately they didn't know that Mission Prep was 4 hours away, which I don't believe for 1 second. I don't care whatever the excuse is. It's a horrible thing to do to that team.
Yeah, and the athletic director, Anthony Rice, who is the old football coach, you know, his hands were tied. He really couldn't say a lot. He was the one who scheduled this game because, look, he's trying to challenge his football team, just like anyone in the Southland would try to challenge their football team, take a trip like that. I mean, Jesus, Bishop Amat took a trip to Texas last week.
Right.
You telling me Pomona can't go to San Luis Obispo, beautiful place, on a Friday night, have a football game?
Not if it means somebody doesn't go to the club on Friday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, very hard
Where do
to
we go from
decompress
there?
after that. Well, yeah, your Montview League favorite, Freddie La Puente, they beat Walnut tonight.
My Montview League favorite.
Yeah, the real Montview League favorite, at least I thought they were, Baldwin Park. They lose 20-6 tonight to Northview. Break up the Vikes, man. I actually picked Northview this week. Stevie's alma mater. I've been against them the last couple weeks. I've learned my lesson, and here they are again, man, 20-6.
Yeah, you know, and I keep going back to the day Stevie did his ice bucket challenge over at Northview, and I followed him over there, and we sat and we watched Northview's practice. They had the freshman quarterback. Marcel Perez told us, you know, don't sleep on us.
Yeah.
You know,
why didn't you tell me this, dude?
Now, didn't he tell us that, Steve? He said, no, we're gonna be better than you guys think we are.
He was very optimistic about this team, more so than I've seen him in the past.
Yeah, and I saw them. I think it was the first game of the year, their Thursday night game. Was it Rosemead that they beat? They defeated Rosemead, who's, you know, Rosemead's a pretty decent Mission Valley team, and they're going to be there. I don't know if they're going to beat San Dimas, probably not, but I think they can finish second in the Valley Vista League.
Yeah. One of Northview's victims, Montebello, lost tonight again. This is surprising, Stevie. This is the Almont League favorite. And they haven't won a game yet. Arroyo now 2-1 after that. Temple City tonight, by the way, my Rams.
Your alma mater.
Yes, they follow up the big performance against Arroyo by beating Alhambra. The Rams are 1-1. First win for Coach Castaneda as a Ram. We're in business now, man.
Did you mention that final? Monrovia 47, Arcadia 14.
Now let's get into that because on the other end of that, you have to mention St. Francis beat Moore Park 50-24. This sets up next week. Number 1 versus number 2. It's
that at Monrovia next week?
It's at St. Francis.
Oh, man.
This is undefeated against undefeated. This is number 1 versus number 2 in that area. This is the rematch of last year's game, which was a blowout win for St. Francis, where they made Monrovia look like they hadn't practiced all summer. And also, you can go back 2 years and say Monrovia went to St. Francis and won a game, which is hard for Freddie to believe.
Monrovia ready for this game?
Yeah, obviously. They played San Dimas.
I know, you're right.
Kind of motivated St. Francis to blowing out Monrovia last year.
Yes.
They were on the verge of winning that game.
Right.
You know why? Because Jimmy Bonds, and this is Jimmy Bonds. This is a proud guy over there. He does not like to lose to the Monrovias. If it was Mir, he doesn't like to. I remember dealing with him in recent years when Mir was in their division. Those are teams he just did not want to lose to. Believe me.
Where do you think he gets his players from, dude?
Yeah, Monrovia? No. Come on.
Miles Bryant transferred from Monrovia. He's at St. Francis doing his 5
And where's
games
Monrovia get their quarterbacks from? Bishop Amat?
Bishop Amat,
Okay.
And they're running backs.
So everybody gets their players from someone else.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
And yet
that's
Noodles,
what good teams do,
Noodles has to sit out his junior year.
You show me a good team.
Because he didn't want to go to Pomona.
You show me a good team, and I'll show you a team with someone else's players.
I love it. Yeah. You show me that, and I'll show you some that are eligible and some that aren't, which is a ridiculous rule.
How about didn't LaSalle lose tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, but they were playing Bishop Diego.
Yeah, that's 38-11 Bishop Diego.
Yeah, Bishop Diego really on another level. San Marino stays undefeated. This was as bad as they wanted it to be win over San Gabriel, which has hit the skid 65-0.
Everyone in that league seems to hit the skid.
Almont League? Yeah, very bad. Sure's played some competitive games against decent teams, and maybe this is the year BG finally lives up to it.
Another score of note: Ayala 37, Diamond Ranch 21.
Good win for the Bulldogs.
They're another team I think that we've kind of been sleeping on or not talking about enough in that Central Division is Ayala.
I said, at the beginning of the year that this was a team that I thought, had the speed, had the tools that could beat Glendora, and if anyone was going to do it in the Palomares League, it would be them. But, Freddie, they lost week 0. I can't remember to who, and I kind of jumped off the bandwagon, and now they've won 2 straight since then. You're right, and I think Diamond Ranch now has lost 2 straight. Diamond Ranch beat Rosemead last week. But still, this is a very good win for Ayala, and maybe depending on what happens with Glendora, maybe Ayala becomes the team to beat now in that Palomares League.
And here are a couple scheduling mismatches: Chino 49, South El Monte 27. Claremont 41, Mountain View 6.
I don't know
why is Mountain View playing Claremont.
Why is Claremont playing Mountain View?
You look at it both ways. I mean, really?
I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, that scheduling doesn't.
That's just.
I
realize you like to test yourself, but
right.
Come on.
From a historical point of view, I mean, I never think that Claremont would ever play.
I wouldn't either.
Play Mountain View, not to be great Mountain View, but just
before we crown Monrovia the king of the Rio Hondo
or
League.
San Marino.
San Marino. Did you mention that?
Yeah, I just did.
Roll over it.
Here, I thought you were going to mention La Cañada's now 3-0 by beating Glendale.
Yeah.
La Cañada's defense tonight. I mean, they had allowed 13 points all season. Look at what did they allow Glendale tonight? Was that a shutout?
Well, that's La Cañada.
Help me out here.
They've
Fred.
scheduled nobody, right?
20-0.
Yeah. Okay. So they've allowed 13 points in 12 quarters.
They've scheduled nobody though.
But 13 points in 12 quarters.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
and that's Ramsey Lambert, man. Yeah. That's a first-year coach there.
Yeah.
3-0, good start for the Spartans.
Okay.
You're
convinced.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, hey, man, you're talking about a team that Charter Oak might be playing in the first round of the playoffs, the old 1 versus 3.
Well, good luck, La Cañada.
Yeah, good luck, La Cañada is right.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about. I mean, I could go back and talk about Pomona again.
You just got me all fired up with Pomona. But
this is why these people that don't understand transfers and why do kids transfer and stuff. You tell me, Fred, if I'm 16 years old and I'm 6'2" and 180 pounds and I'm a defensive back that has lightning fast speed and all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to be a college recruit and I got to go to Ganesha. You tell me I can't transfer?
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
You can't transfer.
There's
CIF transfer rules.
See what I'm talking about? Yeah, right, exactly. This is why this stuff is crap. Because because not every football program has a great coaching staff. Not every school district has competent people working at the district level, and Pomona clearly doesn't.
Yeah.
And this is what you
And
get
let's
tonight.
just-
This is embarrassing.
and let's just
I
say-
actually would like to follow up with CIF next week because this is not this is ridiculous is what it is.
It is. The excuse is ridiculous. And let's just hope that Gary, who plays at San Juan Capistrano next week, I hope they've turned this in for approval already.
Yeah.
We might find out
No,
Monday.
Freddie,
that
that's a
this
week-to-week
game-
thing. You submit approval for your opponent on Monday of the
Let's
week
hope
of
they've
your
approved
game.
that. I know that's maybe an hour and a half trip.
That's such a garbage answer. Such a garbage answer.
I couldn't believe the second part when he was giving it to me. I mean, I couldn't wait to ask that question. You know, when I called it in, they had to go talk to somebody and then call me back. So I figured they're really going to have a chance to prepare something.
Right.
And then when I asked them that question, well, they offered to pay for your trip. Why wouldn't you go?
Right.
When he gave me the excuse, well, you know, it's a long trip and 4 hours. I almost fell off my chair listening to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the most outrageous excuse I've ever heard for not going and not just letting down your team, but someone else.
And just to reiterate, Fred has gotten email accusations, and that's all they are, alleging that higher-ups at Pomona didn't want to do this trip because it would have resulted in a very long night, Friday night into early Saturday morning. We hope that's not true. But, you know, obviously it's an accusation, and anything's possible, I suppose you could say. All right, guys. I don't know if there's much left to talk about. You know, we can get to biggest surprise, biggest disappointment if you're ready. Ready?
Go ahead. Yeah, let's
Stevie,
do it.
Biggest surprise, biggest disappointment.
Well, biggest surprise is I'm surprised how bad La Mirada got blown out against Servite. I thought the way they had been playing that they would, you know, make it a closer game. And
Come on, Steve. This got to be quick. Give it to me quick.
Biggest disappointment.
This should be unanimous.
Probably Diamond Bar, the way they played against Saint.
Well, I'll give you the two obviouses.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise to me is actually San Dimas rolling Diamond Bar the way they did. I mean, I picked Diamond Bar to win in that game. I was drinking the noodles Kool-Aid or eating the noodles, whatever you want to call it, and they just got smacked. Biggest disappointment, and it can't even be really close, is South Hills getting beat down by West Covina, their rival. The Kings of Cameron game, and on Twitter the fans were so fired up for this game. For them to fall flat on their face a week after getting smacked by La Habra, that's an embarrassing result for South Hills because they've got a lot of football tradition, and that's tough for alumni fans of that school to swallow. It really is.
It makes you think what would happen if South Hills played Mission Viejo.
Mine's sort of a double negative. My biggest surprise is Rancho Cucamonga having a running clock put on them.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You know, God, I can't even imagine it, man. I just can't even imagine it. You know, I know Amat's good, but I mean, running clock for Rancho Cucamonga. And my biggest disappointment, we talked about it, you know, ad nauseum tonight. Pomona. You know, the administrators, the school district. This is an embarrassment, and it's not going away because we're going to do some more digging about this and get some CIF reaction next week because this is just totally ridiculous. I mean, I don't know if you'll ever see anything like this again. And then you heap on those accusations, and that's all they are this point.
It's like the football coach at my college alma mater when something like that, you know, where they couldn't get the right budget for footballs or helmets or whatever. He said, "That's us." And that's the feeling you get about Pomona. That's them. You know?
Oh, man. Very disappointing. Anyways, everybody get on the blogs tonight. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's some piling on of La Mirada that you got to do tonight. You know, I guess there's some piling on of Rancho Cucamonga that people are going to do and some singing the praises of Amat and so on. You know, San Dimas, you know, huge night for them. St. Francis, Monrovia as well. And we will obviously be back with you early next week start talking predictions for what will be a huge week 3.
Yeah, a lot of good games next week. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to draw straws as to who goes to St. Francis.
Especially in Pasadena, there's a lot of St. Francis Monrovia, and there's LaSalle, Maranatha,
Muir and Hart.
Muir and Hart. I mean, 3 big games in the Pasadena area.
Very interesting stuff.
Aram's going to be at all 3 of them. He's going to go from game to game to game in one night, and he's going to write one story, round it all up. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'll do it. You got it.
Huh?
Just give me parking.
I think, but my favorite thing of the night, Aram, was watching you on that little play card at Bishop Amat tonight. That was my favorite thing. Yeah, they had Aram's face. You know how they play? Yeah, they had Reagan, then they had Obama, then they turn over and it's Aram. Unbelievable.
I'm gonna have
they
to.
love the big fella over there.
No, I'm gonna have to find out what the play is because if this is like take a knee or some like fullback dive, then I'm gonna want my money back, man. You're not gonna be able to use my likeness for that, Coach Haggerty.
It's a flea flicker.
Yeah, give me something like that. Give me some kind of triple option.
You know Bishop Amat's having a good time, Aram, when Steve Haggerty's joking with me with 5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, that's rare. It must have been a running clock.
It's a running clock. Game over.